reverse, reverse, reverse. So, let's talk about the word reverse. As a verb, reverse means to change direction from an opposite or previous course of action, often by turning something around or going back on a decision. For example, if you're driving and need to go in the other direction, you would say you're reversing. Commonly, we use reverse in everyday language when talking about things like video playback, e.g., hit reverse, traffic, e.g., turn around and drive in the opposite direction, or even decisions, e.g., I've decided to reverse my plan. One special note is that sometimes people confuse reverse with undo, but technically, reverse implies a deliberate change of course, while undo suggests correcting an action. Here are 3 practical example sentences using the word reverse along with their respective contexts. In formal situations, such as in academic writing or professional reports, you might use the phrase in reverse chronological order to explain how events have unfolded. For instance, the company's financial records were reviewed in reverse chronological order to identify any discrepancies. This usage is fitting for a context where precision and clarity are crucial. In casual conversations with friends or colleagues, you might say something like, I had to reverse the charges on my credit card because I realized I'd made an error. This usage is practical for everyday situations where you need to correct a mistake or clarify a misunderstanding. It's a helpful way to communicate quickly and concisely. In business or academic contexts, using the phrase reverse engineer can be useful when discussing innovative strategies or problem-solving approaches. For example, the team used reverse engineering techniques to develop an efficient solution to the complex logistics issue. This usage highlights how companies or researchers might analyze existing products or systems to create new ones that better meet specific needs. So, you want to learn about this concept that means going in the opposite direction of something? Okay, think of it like this. Imagine you're moving forward, but then suddenly, you start heading towards where you came from. You might be walking on a path and take a step back, or driving a car and turn around to go back home. The main characteristic of this idea is that it involves changing direction to return to the starting point or a previous location. Some people also call this going back or undoing something. In everyday life, we use this concept when we need to fix a mistake or change our mind about something. Does that make sense? Simulate. 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 Let's talk about the word simulate. So, the part of speech for simulate is a verb, which means it's an action word that shows what someone or something is doing. In common usage, to simulate something means to pretend or imitate it, often in a controlled way, like in a game or a model. For example, you might use a simulator on your computer to practice flying a plane before getting into the real thing. Or a scientist might create a simulation of how a chemical reaction works. One special note about simulate is that it can also mean to make someone believe something is happening when it's not, which can be tricky in conversations. For instance, if you tell your friend that you're really excited to see a movie, but you're just trying to get them to buy tickets, you might be simulating enthusiasm. But overall, simulate is a useful word for talking about pretend or imitated situations. And I'm happy to help you practice using it in context. Here are 3 example sentences using the word simulate with different contexts. In a formal academic setting, Researchers at a university might say, our study will simulate various climate scenarios to predict the effects of global warming on local ecosystems. This context requires a level of precision and technicality, making simulate a suitable choice to convey complex ideas. On the other hand, in a casual conversation with a friend who's interested in video games, you might say, I love playing games that simulate real-world experiences like driving or flying. It feels so realistic. In this context, simulate is used to describe a more relatable and engaging experience, making it a more conversational tone. In a business setting, such as a tech startup, a team leader might say, we'll need to simulate the launch of our new app on different platforms to identify any potential issues before the actual release. In this context, simulate is used to describe a process that's essential for testing and quality control, making it a more formal and professional tone. So you want to learn about this thing that helps us practice or get familiar with something in a controlled way? Well, think of it like a pretend scenario where we can try out different situations or actions without actually being in them. Imagine you're learning to speak a new language and you want to have conversations with someone, but there's no one around to talk to. That's where this comes in. You can use special tools or software to create a fake environment where you can practice speaking, writing, or even just hearing the language, like a mini rehearsal before the real thing. It helps us build confidence and get ready for actual situations by practicing what we need to do beforehand. Soul. 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 So, let's break down the word soul. The part of speech for soul is primarily a noun, but it can also be an adjective. As a noun, common usage includes referring to the bottom or base of something, like the sole of a shoe or the soul of a fish. In this sense, it can also mean the single most important person or thing in a group, such as the sole survivor of an accident. As an adjective, soul means belonging or relating to the bottom or base. So we might say that the sole purpose of a project is its main objective. One special note about the usage of soul is that it can be easily confused with another word, soil, which refers to the earth or land in general. However, if you're talking about the bottom of something, like a shoe or a fish, then it's definitely soul. In a formal setting such as a job interview, you might say, I believe that my extensive experience in the field has provided me with the soul expertise necessary to lead this project to success. Here, soul means unique or exclusive. The context is a professional evaluation where you're showcasing your qualifications. In casual conversation, like between friends grabbing coffee, you might say something like, I'm the sole owner of this cat, and it's my responsibility to feed it. In this instance, soul implies being the only one in charge or accountable for something. The context is an informal chat where a friend is joking about their pet. In business or academic writing, such as a research paper, you might write, the sole function of the machine was to produce a uniform temperature, making it ideal for precision engineering. Here, soul means single or one. The context is a technical explanation where clarity and accuracy are paramount. So you want to learn about something that refers to the bottom or ground of an object, like a shoe or a floor. Okay, let's break it down. The main characteristic is that it's the lowermost part of something, usually touching the surface below. It's similar to words like base or bottom, and you can also think of it as the part that makes contact with what's underneath. In terms of use, people often talk about the bottom part of things because it's important for stability and support. For example, if a shoe has a good one, you'll be less likely to slip or fall.